So the question is that your daughter is working, Baruch Hashem, that she's out of the depression and out of the house, and she's holding down some kind of a job, and therefore she has some money. So before she had a job, we supply, we buy, we purchase, whatever you want, we serve everything. Now she's working. So where's the balance? It's good for her to save her money. It's good for her to spend her money. It's good to if she spends money, she'll have the incentive to keep on going to work, because I need money. And she'll feel good spending her own money. She'll feel good not taking so much from you. She doesn't like doing that either. She's a good kid. Okay. So the answer to the question, like all of my answers to a little question, is a very deep, 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 deep answer. And it really depends on what we're here to accomplish. What is her problem? Is she a healthy person that we're building up, that she should learn the value of money, and she should have, quote unquote, like you said, an incentive to go to work? Is she ever going to feel like, I don't want to work, but I have to because I have bills to pay, and therefore I'm incentivized to work? What actually is her problem that we're trying to fix? And this is the misconception of, I find, the difference between our mahalach and so many other mahalchim that are busy with the symptoms. I want her to be healthy. That's all I care about. When she's healthy, she'll learn the value of money, and she won't spend. You could shut the volume. Okay. She won't be a spendthrift, and she'll be normal, and she'll save. I've seen the other side of this. Parents going into this, they say, like, what do you mean? We give, and now they'll spend everything and forever. No, they won't. I've been on the other side. That's the difference between someone who has experience and someone who doesn't. And no matter how smart you are, and you're intelligent people, all of you are intelligent people, common sense is, a kid starts to work, so there are some parents, Goyim, I think, not Jewish people, even charge their kid rent because, you're building. Jews don't do that. But anyway, there's all kinds of ideas. But that's all for healthy kids. I had a parent that had a child who was sakanas nefashis, like pikuach nefesh, eating disorder, almost dead. Like really terrible situation. And while this is happening, it was a he, usually you don't have an eating disorder by a male, right? He stopped working. And the advice that they got, that they paid good money for was, well, it's not good for him. It's not healthy for him to stop working. He has to understand the value of $1. So you tell him, listen, I'll give you minimum amount, $50 a week or $100 a week. But if you want to have money for more stuff, you got to go get a job. You're not 15, right? He was already like 28 or something. Because he needs to learn the value of $1. He needs to understand achrayus, responsibility. We can't let him just do this. And I'm looking at this guy, and through him, I'm looking at whoever gave him this advice. I'm like, are you crazy people? I said, so before he had his breakdown, he was a regular kid. He understood. He was careful. He was wonderful. Now his life is shattered. He's having a total breakdown. Now we have to teach him lessons. I said, I'll tell you what. How about we get him healthy? And if he's alive, because this kid was really in danger, his potassium level was dropping, he was hospitalized. If he's alive and he gets out of his eating disorder, right, and he's stable, how about then let's discuss about teaching him the importance of $1 and working for your money and building his self-esteem by not giving him too much. How about we do that after he's stable? Would that be okay with you? And he looks at me and he says, you're so right. Would we ever do this with a kid who's sick? A kid who was normal and happy and healthy and functioning, and then they get a dreaded disease, and now they're in the hospital, and now we're going to teach them, no, we can't buy, we bought ready 2 pair of sneakers for you. No, we're not here to teach lessons, because she doesn't have, your daughter and all these kids do not have a midos problem. They don't have they don't have any personality problem, and they don't have a spiritual problem. All of these are manifestations of a person falling apart that doesn't want to live, or that goes through a breakdown, a mashber, whatever you want to call it. And now they can't function. So if you can't function, you can't function spiritually, certainly not, because that takes more functionality. And you can't function in anything to control yourself. How many people eat too much when they're having a bad day? So here they have a bad life, and now we're going to start criticizing them and teaching them and controlling them. And then, as I always say, the road up is just as treacherous as the road down. Now, she's Baruch Hashem healing. She's getting out of her thing, and she's starting to work. So let me tell you a story, a true story. All my stories are true.
This one's true.
They're all true. I don't have to make up stories. I couldn't make up these stories. And these are all stories that teach us from experience. Many years ago, there were parents who were not able to pay bills. And this kid had a very, very bad life, and he had a lot of trauma, and he was very messed up. And he dropped out of school, and he had tattoos and piercings, and he went through, costing a lot of money to the parents, and everything was fine. They were giving money that they didn't have, just like we do for any sick person. Just physical illness, we do it naturally, whatever it costs, whatever makes the patient more comfortable, right? Over here, it's like, no, we have to teach lessons. We get messed up. The kid got a job. And the kid he got a great job because he's a great kid. And he got a really good job. And he was making more money, basically, than his father, in the sense that certainly after all expenses. Father had all the expenses. This kid is living at home. He's making $1,000 a week. He has no expenses. Parents give him food. Parents give him clothing even, And the father went over to the kid, and he wanted to tell him, now that you're a self-made man, he's working already for like 2 months, which is a long time in Kipville. It's like dog years. It's a long time to keep a job. And, maybe since he wanted to tell him, maybe I don't have to give you in addition, your allowance. He was giving him, I think it was $200 a week, just spending money besides for all the expenses. Maybe now you don't need it. So he tells him, I'm so proud of you. You're amazing. I was thinking that maybe now that you're a self-made man and you have money, so now maybe, and right away the guy goes, oh, so are you going to tell me that you're not giving me the allowance anymore? That's what you want? So you're punishing me for working? So now I'm going to lose out the $200 because I'm going to work. So you know what? I just quit. Now, if you're dealing with a healthy person, and the kid comes back from yeshiva in ARTSCROLL or from seminary where you spent $35,000 for seminary or whatever crazy number that it is, right? Which for that everybody has money for somehow. Not everybody, but people who don't have money for other things, but we have to. And then she's working, and she's successful, and she's a PT or whatever it is that they are. Then, yeah, it could be. It's not my sugya, and I'm not going to tell you what to do and what should be done. But I could hear that someone would say, listen, she's making money, so she should buy. I still think parents should buy, but something should come from her. Let's say. But that's not our situation. Here, we're talking about someone who had a nervous breakdown, someone who went through so much pain, and now they're building themselves up. So I want in 5 years from now, I'm not your financial planner. So my focus is not on your money, although I try to help out with money also. And I care about money, and I know it's a pressure, and I know it's a problem, and I feel terrible. But I'll feel worse if your kid is not healthy. So I want her in 5 years from now, earlier, but I'm saying looking down the road, 5 years from now, 10 years, I want you to have everything you're dreaming of. I need the healthiest, strongest kid. What makes somebody strong? All the regular ideas that what makes a kid strong, it's good for them to pay their own bills. It's good for them to have a cry. Maybe, different discussion, different kid. Not our kid. This kid, the opposite. Not because I don't know what regular chinuch is, and not because of whatever discussions we could have about the regular kids. Because here we have a different tafkid. You tell her, your money is Kodesh Kadashim. All your money should go to your savings. Whatever you need, Mommy and Tati are going to give you. Whether it's clothing, whether it's food, whether it's extras, everything. You're our child, you're our responsibility. We're taking full care of you. Why? First of all, as she sees her money grow in her savings account, if she doesn't spend it, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, that is the incentive to keep on working. In Home Sweet Home, I opened up a separate bank account for each kid who moved in. And the deal that I had with them was, I'm going to hold your money. And it was a chiddush. They trusted me because they trusted nobody. But they knew that I'm paying for the whole thing and I'm sponsoring. So they trusted me. And be'erech, approximately, they made about, they had some spending money and they had $250 approximately was put away, $1,000 a month. And the deal that I made with them was, I said, listen, I know it's really hard to listen to all this. It's a new structure, and you're not really good with listening to structure. We didn't have rules. They made the rules, but there were rules that they made. But I know it's hard for you, just to come home when you're supposed to come home and to go out when you're supposed to go out. And I know this is super hard for you. So I'll make you a deal. In 3 months from now, sometimes I did 2 months, sometimes I did 3 months. In 3 months from now, you're going to have $3,000 in savings. Now, to these kids on the street who were smoking weed, and they never had $3,000. I said, I'll tell you what. If you decide to leave the program, not to stay, to leave, that's why I'm the master capologist. This is super twisted. If you decide to leave the program, not only I'll give you your $3,000, which is yours, I'll add on $1,000. Thank you for staying. And thanks for trying. So every time that you want to break a rule and you want to but I want you just to keep your eye on the fact that I'm paying you not to, because I know how hard it is for you. And even though this was all for them, they would always forget when the 2 months or the 3 months was up, because that time and, that wasn't their thing. And I would go over to them always on that day with a check. And I used to go over and say, here's a check. And it said $1,000 on it with their name. And they would always say, this happened every time. I said, the guys who are going to be watching it now, they're, in the 25 to 35 years old. And they're all, thank God, many of them are raising beautiful families. So they'll remember, they'll vouch for the story. And I would say to them, here you go. And they'd say, what's this? I'd say, today's 60 days or today's 30 days. What? I said, don't you remember? I made up. If you want to leave, you have your money saved up, $2,000 or $3,000, right? And $1,000 bonus because you made it to here and you can leave. And at that point, they all said, I'm not going anywhere. This is the best place in the world. They finally got used to it. They started enjoying it. In the beginning, it was like, I don't want to go. Who are these guys? What do they want? Now they're like VIP. They were enjoying it. I had set up every day of the week a different group of volunteers. So they already got used to the Monday night guys and the Tuesday night guys. And it was good for them. Life was great. And they all said, no way. And then from then on, I knew I had them. They were mine. Because you're choosing to stay here and you're giving up $1,000. And then I would tell them the same thing. I'm going to give you this $1,000 at the end of the year as your gift. So when they graduated, they had between $10,000 and $20,000 in savings. And they would I would give them the $1,000 as a gift. In addition, I gave them other gifts as well. A guy who left told me, he goes, when he took his check, he walked away with $18,000 plus mine. He said, I have more money than my father. Parents were not doing that well. He had self-esteem, and they did well. On month 6 or month 7 or month 8, when they go through a mashber, they go through a breakdown, and they would want to quit their job. What helped them was I used to give them the monthly statements every month. And they would remember, but I have $6,000, but I have $7,000, but I have $8,000. But who paid for all their stuff? I paid for a lot of their clothing. I always made them deals, but the deals were not to do what I want. I'll tell you this story within a story. I had siyata d'shmaya. I told them business is always open. I'm always open for business. Okay, I said, what do you want? In those days, an iPod was a little cute little thing that took your entire CD collection, which took your entire cassette collection and put them which took your entire record collection, which took your entire 8-track, right? And it took all of this room full of stuff and it put it in a little thing. This Sony iPod was like an unbelievable thing. And it cost like $200, $250, whatever it was. So most of them said, I want an iPod. Have all my music. Incredible. So I said, sure. And then they would say, okay, what do I have to do? And I said, whatever you want. And they'd say, what? I said, what do you want to do? And they would say, what? I've never heard of a deal like this. I'm like, pick something that you want to do in your life that you need an incentive for, whatever it is, and we'll make a 8-week deal or a 10-week deal, whatever. I started off with 12-week deals, but 12 weeks, it's like for little kids. It's too long, like they need it now. Don't make me wait 12 weeks. So then I did 8-week deals. I did 4-week deals. I said, pick something. I don't care what it is. They would be like, what? I'm like, do you want to brush your teeth in the morning and at night? Decide that you'll brush your teeth, make a chart, and I have charts for everybody. Read the paper, wake up a half an hour earlier, go to anything that you're ready to do, that you feel like you're ready for in your world, that you want to do, but you need an incentive, and you deserve an incentive, and you deserve to be applauded for it, and you get the iPod. Many of them did tzitzis, many of them did tefillin, and many of them did Shabbos. I have a collection, I took pictures of it, so it's in the album, of so many kids signing up to do tefillin and Shabbos. And I said, it doesn't need to be ruchnius. Anything that makes you happy. So some of them in the beginning, they did other stuff, and then, but almost all of them at some point, because most of them left completely from. And I said, this is your incentive that I'm giving you for you. That's how I gave them incentives, okay? Fine. The point was that what makes somebody unhealthy, and maybe healthy as well, but unhealthy for sure, go through those dark times when they want to give up and quit, because during the year, they have different moods. And I always told them, even if you're clean, you got to be clean for a year. You got to get through a winter, spring, summer. You got to get through Pesach and a Sukkot and Rosh, all the triggers of the whole year before you know that this is going to stay. The example that I used to give them is, imagine if you have a very old driveway and you want to repave it. So you get rid of the old stuff, you break it up, you carry it away, you pour the cement. Can you park on it? No. You got to let it sit. So I had a lot of guys who, they were like, I'm clean 3 months, 6 months, I want to leave it. I'm like, you got to let it sit. You got to get through all the seasons and all the Yom Tovim, and if you're still clean, but that's why it was a 1-year program. Okay. So what gave them the incentive when they hit a January dark winter day, or a day that they went through a specific trauma, or they saw something that broke them? Sometimes they see a car of the guy who molested them and they have breakdowns. But what made them, even if they were sick for a day or two, but what kept them going was, I see my net worth growing. I'm worth something. I have $5,000. I have $7,000. And they could leave anytime they want and take their money. So I wanted to pay for everything. We paid for the food. We paid, whatever I could pay for. I made them, I bought them suits when they wanted suits, usually before Yontif, and depending where they were in the program. Sometimes they didn't want suits. I said, no problem, we'll get you slacks. And I wanted them to dress nicely. I told them the ripped jeans, I'm not against it, but the cheap stuff, I'll buy you expensive, but cheap stuff you could buy yourself. I want you to, a nice pair of boots. I didn't care if it was cowboy boots or black, but I didn't care. I wanted them to feel that I am somebody. When they walk out, they feel good about themselves. Get them the nicest stuff. That's rebuilding the self-esteem. So the answer to your question is that until after her marriage, you're paying for everything. And you're going to tell her. And you have to understand, we're making up for a lot of darkness that was in her and in their minds. We're making up for a lot of brokenness. We're making up for a lot of mistakes that we made. Even if we were good and smart, we didn't understand them as we should have. We are making up for a lot. And we're telling her, I'm so proud of you. But we're going to open up a savings account, right? And I want you to watch it grow. And whatever expenses you have, we're your parents. We're paying for it. What happens to her self-esteem? Grows. What happens to her commitment to wanting to see it? Now, she might stop working because she's sick. She might have a relapse, or they might relapse into whatever it is. That would have happened anyway. But they're not going to say, oh, really? You're paying for everything? So then I don't need to work. Why? I'll tell you why, and I'll give you the proof. Why? Because healthy people, you can't hold them down. Healthy people want, when they can, they will. Healthy people want to be successful. They want to build a life. They want to go to work. They don't want to just lie in bed. And if you say you can lie in bed for the rest of your life, as long as they're sick, they'll take you up on it. But when they're healthy, you can't hold them down. That's why they're going to work. That's why they're going to school. That's why they want to become, they want to be. They want to be. And what's the proof that I'm right? Your daughter. You did TP. You paid for everything. So why did she get a job to begin with? That's the proof. And now that she got a job, we're going to change. She's healing. She got out of the wheelchair. She's starting to walk. Now we're going to change things on her. Okay, good. Now you have money, so now we're not going to give this. You have to pay allowance. You buy your own stuff, whatever. We're going to punish her as she's starting to heal. That's how it's going to feel to her. And instead of realizing that we don't need to do any of that stuff. Mahatzatan mit Yidden. We're dealing with Jewish people. Okay? She's going to want to make money. It's in her DNA. She's going to want to be successful. She's going to want to build her life. And you could tell your kid, you don't have to work. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to. That's how far this goes. Not only pressuring them is wrong and really stupid. It comes from a lack of experience of understanding that this person is sick. You would never pressure someone with even just fever. And we're talking about breakdowns and suicidal, and people are pressuring them and threatening them. If you're not going to work, you can't stay here. And you're threatening someone who had a breakdown. So not only we don't need to pressure them, and we shouldn't, but you can put in front of her, you can say, guess what, sweetie? You won a lifetime of free support. I will support you for the rest of your life. And they will not stay home and mooch off of you for one day after the point that they can go and do it themselves. You're a proof of that. Right? You were giving your son and giving and giving and giving. And as soon as he was able to get things together, he went to work. And what time did he start work? 5 in the morning. When did he come home? 3 p.m. And how happy was he? The happiest in the world. Why? Mommy and Daddy are pledging to you, we're going to support you for the rest of your life. It doesn't stop them from wanting to build a life for themselves and feel good and build a career. And for the week that it lasted, 2 weeks, I'm sorry. Okay? Why did he stop? Why did he stop? Because you're going to tell him, I'm not going to give you money, or I'm going to give you money anyway, or he realized, why should I work? My parents are going to support me anyway? No. It stopped because he broke. Because anyway, it's not the right thing. You don't go from no job to full-time job. It's got to be real slow. Fixing anything takes time, one step at a time. But he showed you that he's not here to mooch off of you. And he showed you how good he was, and he was shining, and you thought, okay, we're done forever. And I didn't want to be the one to say, sorry, this doesn't work that way. Okay, but I feel like Hashem, if you look at it the way I look at it, Hashem gave you a little hug. He said, let me show you who your kid really is. He was davening better, and he was happy, and he started making brachas, and everything came together. Why? Because I'm alive. And then he couldn't do it. Breakdown. And then he's miserable, and then he's, they shower less usually, and of course, because they're having a breakdown. They need Tylenol. They don't need all of these chinuch ideas or parenting ideas or how to, business ideas. It's just misplaced completely legamri. Clear? You don't look too happy about this. So I know it means that you're going to watch her bank account rise and you're going to watch your bank account go down, and you're going to say, this is not fair. You're healing her. Let her have, Hashem should help. She should have $10,000 in savings. She should have $20,000. She should get married with $50,000 in savings, because the more that she has in savings, the more self-esteem she's going to have. Even though technically, according to the intellect, you could say, no, she doesn't have self-esteem, because sure you could. You didn't pay for anything the last time. Doesn't work that way. And the truth is, a lot of people, their kids get married, they go to kollel, they're learning, they're not learning, I don't know, and they're getting full support. And people pay for a wedding for 5-6 hours, they pay more. So just let her heal. You tell her, your money and the truth is, it's true. Her money is not like when you were a kid and you started to go to work. She has to use energy that we can't even fathom to be able to continue. And even if she's having a good week or 2 or 3, she will hit times in the year, like I said, or times that she can't do it, and she will push herself as much as possible. So it's the exact opposite, once again, exact opposite of the therapy world, which consistently parents are telling me, and I have nothing against the therapy world. I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, why don't you understand how this works? Because we're doing this very successfully. You look at kids, our kids a couple of years later, when they can, they will. And not only will they not mooch off of you, they will support you. They will buy gifts for you. They will be there for you. And for the rest of your life, you're being kaina and eved. They're going to be the ones who are going to take care of you when you're old. Mark my words. We have so much testimony. Not that we're doing this for that long, but it's happening even. Don't go here. We have so much testimony of even before, of kids buying gifts for their parents, or as soon as they're making money, as soon as they have it, they're buying their parents nice, like expensive things. I have so many mothers and fathers getting beautiful gifts from their kid. In the beginning, before they're fully healed, they're going to buy you beautiful. It's going to be, now they buy nothing. They don't even know anybody else exists. Then when they get healthier, they're going to buy you beautiful gifts on your credit card. But they're going to be thinking of you, and they want to be meitav to you. They want to give you. And it's like this kid went out to eat. The father took him out to an expensive restaurant. And at the end, the father goes to pay, and the kid says, no, it's okay. It's on me. And he takes out his father's credit card. True story. In their mind, this is my credit card. I have access to these funds, and I want to, I want it to be they're so good and they're so messed up, but they're puppies. They're beautiful. As long as you understand that. So the answer to your question is the same answer to so many questions that people, while we're dealing with a major breakdown, and kids are dealing with drugs, kids are dealing with all kinds of stuff, right? We're worried about teaching them a lesson and how to build, it's like, no. But there's more than that. Your entire ability to affect her future comes from you providing. Your entire ability to affect her future mental stability and health, to fight off relapses, whether it's emotional relapses, psychiatric relapses, drug relapses. How many of our TP kids, after they get stable, relapse? Very small percentage. Out there, tons and tons. I'm not busy with relapses. We have some kids that take a long time till they get healthy, but relapses after clean for a year or 2, and that's when a lot of the deaths unfortunately happen, relapsing even 5 years later, even 10 years later. I don't think we had, we did have one. We had, but with not even 1/4% of what we're dealing with. Not that a neshama is a statistic, but I'm just saying compared to what they're dealing with, we're doing very well. We're killing it. We're killing the odds. So her stability of strength is you. And when you're giving her, every time you give her cash, check, I like cash better because then here's another 200, here's 100, can I get a hug? That's all I want. And in the beginning, some of them, unfortunately, are so sick that they won't hug you, either because they can't be touched because of their trauma, or because we didn't start this at the beginning and we destroyed the relationship because either, I don't know, we were in pain or we got bad advice. But it should never have been there. That touching and hugging and fun and loving, if you start at the beginning, it should never be destroyed. So I want you giving her. You're not giving her money. You're giving her a future. You're bonding her to you. You're bonding her to you. You always love your supplier. I don't want her to be meshubit to anybody else. How do you say meshubit in English? Subservient. I don't want her to owe anybody anything. I want her to mommy and daddy. Here, you know what? Where's that paper that I had? I want to show you something. I was going to read it. I don't want her or him to owe anybody anything. I want everything to come from you. And then when your nafshei kshur b'nafshei increases, if you care about her ruchnius, that's going to help for the ruchnius also. Indebted. I don't want her to be indebted to anybody else. Okay, hold on one second. I want to read this to you. Okay, I found it. So I just want to give you a little history without giving away too many details. You would think that the age of the girl who wrote this, who posted this publicly, would be 14, 13, 15. This is a woman who is 30 years old, who's divorced, went off the derech, and she was living with a guy, unfortunately, with like a 45-year-old gentleman, Italian guy, and her parents came here, and she has children, and they started doing TP, which we pay for everything, and you're not subservient to anybody else. You don't need anything from anybody without saying it, because we're not going to say, oh, here, don't go to him. No. It's all, and it's not as a game. They really understood. They really love their kid, and they really want to be there for her. It's not like, okay. This is what she posted, okay? A 30-year-old. My dad just told me I look pretty with my new bangs and eyebrows. And honestly, ... That's the only man's approval I will ever need. That's TP. Okay? You, moms, but especially dads, for the girls and the boys, you have to be their everything. So when you're giving her, and you're giving her, you can build a relationship that she thinks of you as the ultimate person I want to spend time with. People always say, oh, my kid says, I don't want to go on vacation with you, I want to go with my friends. So remember this rule. Healthy kids would rather go on vacation with their friends. Kips, kids in pain, would rather go with their parents once you prove that you don't judge them and you accept them, because their friends are crackpots and nothing ever happens. And they make all these plans and it's a lot. But when you go with mom and you go with dad and you treat them properly, machaya. There's no pressure, even if you missed the plane. There's no problem, even if you didn't pack half the stuff that you were supposed to pack. He's just so calm, so cool. I get a nice car. We go out. We spoil them. And the result is, from our spoiling them, I have a nidava, the Navi says. I love them for free, for nothing, right? They connect to us. They like being around us. They push it like being around us. And then your compliment means the most to me. So when my father says to me, you're beautiful, or you're handsome, or you're so strong, or to the boys, to the girls, whichever way you want to give, yeah, okay. Whatever works, right? Then they really, after you do TP and you have NKN, Nafshek Shura B'Nafshek, which it was there when they were born, and it was never supposed to go away. When you build the NKN and then you use it properly with complimenting and everything, that's it. And then they could say things that are astounding. They heal, they get healthy, they want to be like you. And then they'll say things like this week, just this week, where a girl broke off with her Gaisha boyfriend, who she was engaged to, and not because of the normal way of saying, yeah, I'm going to have a heart attack and all, which is all true, right? But because of the enormous acceptance of the parents and the enormous showering of love and fun and doing all of our trips and all of our tricks. And she broke off with the guy and she said, I just, not, Mirza Shambayu. Whatever, I don't want to give out details, what the guy's name was. But, and she said, I don't want that. I don't want that, right? I can't, and she said, I don't want to hurt my parents. I don't want to, and it's not with guilt. It's with pride. Like, I just don't want to be, that's the only thing you can do to stop that from happening, is to have such a relationship where and they know that no matter what I do, you're always my child and I will always be there for you. And it's tricky and it's scary, but it doesn't make them go further. The hardest thing about TP is everybody thinks that if you don't hit the brake, the car is going to go forever. No. You hit the brake, car is going to spin. That's what happens when you start controlling them. They freak out. They end up doing stuff that even they didn't want to do. They lose all bechira, which they don't have, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, all sense in their brain, and they spin, and they spin, and they spin, just like on black ice. What's your first feeling God forbid, nobody should be in this situation. Imagine somebody's going with a car full of people, a van, 6 kids, and they hit black ice. Rachmana litzlan. What's your first instinct? Hit the brake. Hit the brake. Everything in you is saying, I'm going to, and you know that if you don't, it could be even an oil tanker in front of you. It's like you lost control. I got to hit the brake. How do you feel when your kids are acting like this? And they're going out and they're saying, pardon my French, F you, which most people didn't even know was French. Drop dead. Hitler was right. I mean, we've heard the craziest things, but bottom line is they're not responding to your control anymore. So what do you want to do? You want to hit the brake. And while you're about to hit the brake in slow motion, your wife Googles what to do when you hit black ice, and then she goes, no, and you're like, but I have to, and she's like, no, why? Google. Okay, the worst thing you could possibly do is hit the brake. You might crash, but if you hit that brake, you're going to spin, and you're going to spin, and you're going to wipe out who knows how many people are going to die. It feels very uncomfortable to let this thing go out of control. And I'm asking you to let go of the wheel, and it feels like impossible. But the truth is, you haven't been controlling this car for the last months or years. This wheel that you've been we should make it right, it's not connected to the car. So many parents so busy thinking and planning and meetings, and we're going to tell her this, and we're going to tell them that, and it's like, they're not listening to you right now, and you really can't stop them. Family that was here, true story, all my stories are true, 15-year-old girl, from 13 to 15, she was spun out of control. And they did everything. They even put on the alarm in the house, which had motion detectors in the hallways and the downstairs and the front doors and everything, to make sure that she doesn't leave in the middle of the night. That's called jail, right? And I would do the same thing. I thought, hey, what else are you supposed to do? Because she was sneaking out. And what she did was she disconnected and got around the zone of her bedroom window. And on the second floor, she somehow got out of the window in the middle of the night. Okay, now what do you do? Put her on the third floor? Can't control these kids. The idea is to change their rutzin, and they did. They came here at 15 years old, and they came in June. 3 years later, June, was her wedding. She got married, Kedas Moshe v'Yisrael, and it's a beautiful picture of her father with the shtreimel by the mitzvah tans, where usually Hasidim, they'll hold their daughter's hands by the mitzvah tans, but they're not going to just embrace them and she was sobbing on his shoulder because he saved her. Because all the stuff they did before, stopping the credit card and throwing out the shoes, she bought 8-inch heels, and all of that stuff didn't work. It just made her worse. Sending out spies. He had mamish spies out, the whole family. She's in the park. She did, and here they came here, and they did horrible things to show acceptance because she was so messed up. Horrible things, which we needed the highest das Torah to agree to. Not little guys. Big, very difficult stuff that they did. Examples? Your daughter is giving you her own examples. So you don't need this other person's, all the bad stuff. And then she dumped the boyfriend, and then she started keeping Shabbos, and then 3 years later she got married. She didn't want to get married in Borough Park because she didn't want her old friends to come. She didn't want to not invite them, but she didn't want to make it easy. So she made it in Williamsburg, and I was there by the Shmorg, even though I don't usually go to weddings, but I happened to be in the neighborhood. And I just got to see this lechtig kala. Now it's 6-7 years later, and she's on kid number 3, and beautiful family, and her parents, when they came back from vacation, I think they were in Florida, and they arrived back home like at 11 o'clock at night. On the fridge is a note, right? In case you're hungry. And out of their 9 kids, there was only 1 kid that thought maybe mommy and daddy are going to be hungry when they come back from the flight, and made a delicious, not just a turkey roll sandwich, which would have been nice, beautiful home-cooked meal with all the things, welcome home, love you, in case you're hungry, you should have food. Forever, she's going to be indebted to them. And that's what makes us think, why do we only do this with our kids who are off the derech or on drugs? Every kid wants love and acceptance and being there. And we throw that away with all these things. Oh, you got to teach them, you got to show them, and we're the enemy, and we got to negotiate with them, we got to argue with them. And it's like, it's such a ruach shtus. It was never part of parenting in a Jewish perspective, arguing with a kid, being the enemy, fighting, controlling how much they spend, and then they're going to be cheap. It makes sense. Anyway, that's a different shmooze for a different night. Did I answer your question? You want to give her money. Not just for all the other reasons, because you want to be the one saying, in her hand, mommy, daddy. And remember I taught you how to give money. You give, and then yitain, v'yachzer v'yitain. You say, oh, you know what, take another 50 in case you need it. I always want you to have extra money. Enjoy yourself. How much? Dad, you got any money? You going out? What do you need? I don't know, like let's say, $60, $70, no problem. Give it, and say, you know what, here's another 40. Make it 100. Big hug. All I want is a hug. You're saving their lives physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, because you're bonding them to you, because that's how she knows and he knows, yes, that's how people know that you like them. Because you can give $1 million a year. If they ask for $1 million and you give $1 million, they have no idea that you really wanted to. It's like, okay, I'm giving you what you're asking for. But as soon as you give more, it kashers up all the other money that you gave. So when they ask for 100 and you give 120, it's not just that extra 20 shows you that the 100 is really because I wanted to give it to you. Otherwise, you can give the 100 and give the 50 and give the $1 million, you can give the $2 million, doesn't matter. They know that I get the minimum, what I ask. I want to show them that, and that's the story of Sai and the sushi boat, which I've said many times, not for now. Okay, good luck.